classic style. Number 100, 4.5 hours of sleep. 4.5 hours sleep deprivation video. I think, like, if you were to, like, line up all 100 of these videos, I'd say, like, 1/3 of them would be sleep deprivation, 4-hour sleep videos. Which always make more interesting videos, I guess. Maybe not. Yeah, I hope you guys are having a great day. The state I live in is about to get hit by a hurricane, so we might lose, like, Wi-Fi and power and stuff like that for, like, 2 or 3 days. So if you don't see 101, 102, 103, it's because the world is destroyed. It's a very peaceful, calming day today. Life has been getting hella heavy lately. You know, like, to the point where I'm, like, losing my shit and I'm, like, yelling at people and fucking going batshit crazy. I was spending time with my sister yesterday. You know, we just need some distance to heal and chill. And I found out what was wrong with our relationship, and it was just fucking, like, I get along great with her, but when I go to her house, like, it's fucking, like, you know, it's bad. So I just set boundaries up, and I was like, well, I'm just not gonna go to your house, but other than your house, it's fucking, our relationship rules. You gotta figure out what's wrong, and you gotta solve it, you know, like, that's why it's good to, like, sit with yourself every day. And, like, I always say to my friends, you know, a great way to live life is just to, you know, if you have an issue in your life, or if there's a problem in your life and it's bothering you, just sit with yourself for a while and just go through all the different avenues that you could solve the issue and try to find the best one, to the point where you could solve it and then tackle that problem and then move on, and then you don't have that problem anymore. And then a couple days later, a week later, whatever the case may be, you run into another problem, and you got to sit with yourself instead of avoiding the problem by, like, watching Netflix or binge eating, you know, bad food, or, you know, drinking or doing drugs. You know, instead of, you know, the escapisms, you know, such as drugs, alcohol, food, you know, TV, Netflix, YouTube, that kind of thing. Even relationships could also be escapisms. You know, just sitting with yourself, by yourself in solitude, going through the issue, like, okay, well, what's the fucking issue? Oh, okay, I'm not getting along with my sister. Okay, like, why? Okay, why am I not getting along with my sister? Because when I'm in the car with her, like, we're like best friends. When we go shopping together, we're like best friends, and, like, it's great. So, like, why do I feel like she's being abusive towards me? Oh, she's only abusive towards me, or I feel like she's mean to me when I go to her house, because she likes her house quiet. You know, because, like, not all the time, but, like, her house is usually peaceful and quiet. So when I show up, you know, and I'm, like, manic, or a little off, or a little sleep deprived, I might be like, whoa, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, what the fuck, man? Just, like, can you just fucking Jesus, dude? And, like, that obsessed me, because I'm, like, I'm very sensitive, but I'm also very hostile, right? So, like, I get, like, really upset. Like, I'm like a little rabbit, right? So, like, I get really upset, like, when, like, someone says something to me that I find that's, like, not loving. So, like, I'm, like, I get really upset. And if I'm, like, kind of defeated that day, or if I'm, like, depressed that day or something like that, or sleep deprived that day, I might not, like, stand up for myself, or lash out. So when I leave her house, I might be, like, suicidal, right? But if I'm, like, confident and manic that day, and she tells me, like, you know, da 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 da, I'll be like, fuck you. And, like, because I'm, like, so sensitive. But if I'm sensitive and I'm, like, depressed that day, like, I become, like, this carrying little rabbit. But if I'm, like, super sensitive and I'm, like, confident and I'm manic that day, or I'm just confident, if I'm, like, my, you know, the confident self, right? And she, like, says something to me, like, you know, why are you talking so much, you know, whatever. I'll, like, be like, I'll be aggressive towards her. So it's a real struggle when you're, like, super sensitive and you're, like, really aggressive, because it's a dangerous combination. Like, yesterday I yelled at somebody, like, oh, I just fucking destroyed him, and they were, like, terrified, because, like, I just finished working out, and, like, I was just, like, walking around my lawn, and I was talking on the phone, and I was being, like, loud because I just finished working out, and I was, like, in, like, you know, after workout mode, and I was just, like, full of, like, testosterone and shit. So it was, like, being overly loud. And he told me to, like, you know, like, I was talking too loud, and he did this. He was like, shh. And, like, the last time I fucking destroyed people to the point where, like, the relationship was unrepairable after that, was when they did this to me. Like that, like, when people go, shh. Like, that, for some weird reason, is, like, one of the biggest triggers in my life. I don't know who did that to me in the past, but somebody must have really fucked with my head. And I'm trying to pull it from my subconscious, like, who did that? Did, like, my kindergarten teacher do that to me? Did, like, my first grade teacher do that to me? Who the fuck did that to me? Because I know my mom didn't. I know nobody in my family did. So it's just like, who the fuck did this shit to me? Like, shh. Because, like, if you do that to me, I'm not kidding. Like, I will seriously, like, slit your goddamn throat, and I could care less if I kill you or not. Like, it's that fucking hardcore. Like, I'm just, like, and it's just, like, good. Because I really don't value the lives of others. When, I mean, if it really comes down to it, I don't. Like, to be completely honest with you, I value the lives of animals, like rabbits. Not so much the hawk, but, like, rabbits and squirrels and birds and stuff. I value their life. But humans, I kind of see them as dispensable. Because, like, what are they doing for our culture? Like, what are they doing for our community? Especially, like, the average people that, like, drive the cars and judge us. Like, I think that they all deserve to die. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Because they're not adding to our society at all. And you could be like, oh, they volunteer, they give to charities and stuff like that. Yeah, but they also make a lot of people feel like shit. Like I in, like, the homicidal chapter of my book, in the ebook, like, in my, like, the homicidal chapter, I have, like, when I was in, like, the homicidal state once, like, I wrote, like, this, like, poem called Mr. Judgy Eyes, and, like, I started talking about, like, killing, like, all people that are judgmental. And I talked about, like, passing somebody judgmental on the street, and I was, like, going into, like, how I would like to murder them because they need to die. And I see them as, like, ice cubes. And, like, I just put them in a cup, and they just, like, they dissolve, and and they're no more. Because they're that meaningless to me. And, like, and when I was, like, writing the Mr. Judgy Eyes poem, like, I was, like, laughing. I thought it was, like, so fucking funny, but I was so homicidal that I was just, like, I was, like, just fucking deranged. And then my sister read it, and, like, my sister, like, she was just like, yeah, I didn't really like that. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, like, you didn't think that was funny? And she's like, no. She's like, that wasn't funny at all. I'm like, I thought that goddamn poem was fucking hysterical. And she's like, no. I'm like, how did you not find that fucking poem funny? And she's just like, I'm like, I was laughing the whole time I was writing that fucking poem. And she's like, yeah, because you were fucking, like, shit-ass fucking crazy demented when you wrote that shit. I have a chapter in my ebook where I'm like, this is like a real event that happened. Like one day, I decided to kill my sister for no reason, and she was like 9 years old, and I was 7 years old, and we were living in this little shed at the time, and I just decided to like pick up like this big steak knife in the kitchen, and just like I started like chasing her, and like I was like really going to kill her, and she knew that I was going to kill her, even though I was 7 years old. And she like ran into the bathroom, and she was like in the bathroom for like a half an hour, and I was just like outside the door, and she like locked the door of the bathroom, and my mom obviously like worked 2 jobs because like my dad was a fucking piece of shit, and he never really paid real child support, and we were poor as fuck. We were living in a goddamn shed with fucking no oven, no nothing, fucking like so like fucking like my mom wasn't coming home for a very long time, and like I'm outside the door, and like I'm just like kind of, I guess I don't know what the fuck I was saying or laughing about, but I was just like it was like entertaining for me that I was like wanting to kill her, and I was going to kill her. And I remember she wrote on a piece of toilet paper, and she used toothpaste, and she put toothpaste on the toilet paper, and she wrote like "help me," and like she kind of like slid it under the door, like when she thought I wasn't there anymore, and like I just saw the piece of paper that said like "help me" on it in like toothpaste. She was fucking 9 years old, dude. I was 7 years old. Yeah, I read about that in the ebook, and I talk about like how like how a 9-year-old has to face the fact that they have like a seriously deranged person in their family that is trying to kill them, and they're like 7 years old, and like they can't do anything about it. Like my sister could not do anything about that. Like she had absolutely no control, and it's like shit is tough, man. You know what I was saying yesterday about like me hurting my family far more than them hurting me. You know, the shitty childhood with the childhood neglect and all the other shit that went into it. Like there's a little wheel and there's like a big wheel. So all the shit that I went through my entire life was like the little wheel. You know, it was like the little wheel of hurt, the little wheel of neglect that added up into a big wheel. And for a lot of us with borderline personality disorder, complex PTSD, or just coming from poverty, or like a toxic family, or, you know, a divorced family, or an abandoned family, where your family or your father abandoned you, you deal with issues where like you deal with like the little wheel, like neglect, abuse, control, all these little fucking things. And then they add up because they happen to you every day. And then they add up to this fucking massive wheel that makes you have all these fucking things that you can't let go of, all these things that you constantly remember. You know, or, you know, they give you this personality where, like, you're very sensitive, but you could lash out and fucking kill people because of, like, the build-up. Like, whatever the fuck that build-up is. Like, when that guy yesterday was like, shh, and I could have slit his throat. And if there was a steak knife around, I probably would have just, like, fucking took him out. Like, that's because of the little fucking wheel. Or you could even say, like, maybe it wasn't the little wheel at all. Maybe it was just, like, fucking crazy-ass genetics. You know, because my grandmother, she had BPD. She was borderline personality disorder, right? So it's like, you know, it might have just been handed down. You know, so it's just like, was it, you know, genetics? Or was it the little wheel? that added up to the sensitivity and the aggression. So, like, you know, I think I was talking to my friend today, fucking goddamn way too early in the goddamn morning. I had like this fucking, my subconscious woke me up because I almost ripped that guy's head off yesterday. And I woke up because I'm like, I gotta fucking solve this fucking problem. Because I live with the fucking person. And I don't want him to be fucking scared of me for the rest of the time I live here. So I gotta fucking solve this. So like I fucking wrote him a message. Because that's the way he likes to communicate. He likes to do messages. And after I wrote him, like one of my friends was up, so her and I talked for like 2 hours, and we talked about how, like, because she's borderline too, and she also has complex PTSD, and we just talked about like how important it is to work on yourself every day. It's like a daily practice. You have to work on yourself every single day because of the little wheel, the trauma, the buildup, the sensitivity. You know, like we talk about, her and I, we talk often about like how difficult it is to be in relationships with people, you know, and make those relationships work. You know, because we're so fearful of loss, or we're so fearful of people hurting us, or we're so fearful of people controlling us, and we don't really trust people, or we feel like people are going to like take advantage of us. It's a goddamn train wreck, man. It really is. And it's like, you know, I often say that, like, I haven't dated anybody in 7 years. It's not just because I'm picky. It's because I'm, like, scared shitless of, like, fucking actually putting my foot in the water and allowing myself to get hurt by people. Which is a very real thing. Especially if you're really fucking sensitive. You know, in the second chapter of my book, I list the 9 fucking bullet points, the 9 things that borderline people really, and you would even say complex PTSD people, suffer from. And like, I think number 7 or 8 in chapter number 2 is about relationships and how difficult it is for us. And how we might even get bored of people sometimes. But anyways, guys, yeah, so I hope everything's going well for you, man. It's the weekend. I really like him. The singer, The Weeknd. He puts out some legit good shit, man. Like, if you ever want to hear a really good, slow Weeknd song, he did one for 50 Shades of Grey. Like, just type in, like, Weeknd, you know, obviously without the E, you know what I'm talking about. Like, type in The Weeknd, 50 Shades of Grey. Yo, that song is off the fucking chain, son. It's fucking awesome, dude. Jesus. But anyways, guys, I hope you're having a great day. Video 100, very cool. And it's actually 101 because the first video is an introduction. But yeah, so yeah, guys, thank you so much for everything. And I lost a subscriber yesterday, so I guess I said something that like was deeply offensive, or I pissed somebody off. That happens often. Like, whenever I do a video that touches on like us being at fault for like our lives, sometimes, not all the times, but like sometimes, you know, you have to take responsibility for your actions, and sometimes you just have to admit that you're an asshole. I have no fucking problem admitting I'm an asshole. And I don't really apologize and say sorry, because you shouldn't. Like, that doesn't hold water. That's bullshit. Like, even when I messaged my mom yesterday, I said, I'm not going to apologize or say I'm sorry for my actions, because right now I just feel like such a big piece of shit for just continually doing what I'm doing to you and my sister, you know, her daughter. And like, you get to the point where there's no excuse for sorry. or I apologize. Like, no. Like, how many times can you say that? I don't even bother anymore. Like, if I know I'm sorry, or if like, I should be saying sorry, or I apologize, I don't even do it anymore. Because, like, if you have borderline personality disorder, or if you're bipolar, or if you're, like, fucking abusive, or if you treat people like shit, or if you're so manic or so angry you can't, like, fucking control your shit, like, and you keep doing it, and it's repeating, there's a pattern there, the word sorry or I apologize doesn't, it loses its water. Somebody told me the other day, like, on one of these borderline personality disorder, like, channels, like, you know, these, chat rooms, they decided to stop using the word rape and replace it with, like, sexual assault. I'm like, you're taking away the power of the word. Like, rape is a fucking, like, that's a fucking power word. Like, sexual assault could be anything. Sexual assault could be somebody, like, touching my, like, inner thigh. It's like, we need to understand, like, what real power words are. And we need to stop saying such bullshit fluff words like, oh, I'm sorry, or I apologize. No. Why don't you say something meaningful? Like, I'm getting sick of treating everybody in my life like shit. So the word sorry, that shit don't cut it no more. And that's exactly what I said to my mom. Because it don't. Because the amount of times that I've hurt the people in my life, like, the fact that they're even in my life anymore is fucking, it's like fucking, it's like, it's astounding to me that they're even there. Like, yesterday in the grocery store, like, my niece was with us, and everything was hunky-dory. And then, like, I talked about what I did to the person that I live with. And how I fucking ripped them apart. And sometimes when I do that, I go into the character of me ripping them apart. And after I did that, my niece didn't really speak to me for the rest of the time in the grocery store. Because I could see that she was scared of me. Because it's like, you have to realize how scary you can be. And you have to understand, like, what your actions are. And, like, how you could affect other people's lives. And a lot of the time when you have a mental illness, or when you have, like, a personality disorder, whatever the fuck it is, like, you don't understand, like how fucking insane you can be. Whether it's, like, when you're manic, or whether it's, like, when you're fucking, like, just off the fucking chain. And it's just, like, you really have to be conscious about, like, how your, like, face is, how your body language is, like, how you affect average people, especially average people. My niece is super average, okay? My sister is super, like, everybody around me is super fucking average. Like, the only people that, like, are in my inner tribe, as far as friends go, they all have complex PTSD, or they all have, like, borderline personality disorder. Because they understand, like, the fucking isms and the shit. And, like, they're not going to be, like, shocked by, like, some of the fucking heinous shit that goes down. But, like, for the average people, for people in your family, you know, and sometimes, like, you may have the shittiest family going, man. Like, seriously. You know, so, you know, if you do, like, set up boundaries, you know, look up, like, videos on YouTube about childhood abuse, controlling mothers, childhood emotional neglect, controlling families, toxic families, how to create boundaries, how to separate, how to become vulnerable, like, how to, like, what toxic shame is. That's a big one. You know, trauma therapy. You know, like, research all this stuff on YouTube if, like, you're really struggling with your family. And don't let your family bully you around. You know, and Be, be open enough to be vulnerable enough to have, like, the hard conversations with your family. So, like, the problems get solved. So it's just, like, just putting in the work. And, like, sometimes you got to do it every day if shit is really fucked up in your life. It's like a daily practice if shit is really fucked up. And sometimes you just got to, like, distance yourself from your family. And realize that you're hurting them or they're hurting you. It could go both ways. In my situation, I'm hurting my family and they're hurting me. Same. Well, I think right now I'm hurting them more than they are me. Like, before this coronavirus, we had a great relationship. But ever since this fucking coronavirus has gone down, I'm losing my shit, man. I told my sister in the grocery store, after, like, I told her, like, how I fucking, like, destroyed that guy that I live with. And my sister was like, Jesus, Joe. And I was just like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I can't fucking keep my shit together. I'm like, ever since this fucking virus, like, I'm losing my fucking shit, man. But, like, I've lost everything, man. I've lost my, like, the normal people. I've lost, like, the job that I had. Like, I lost fucking everything. And it was a volunteer job, but still. Like, I lost my, like, the people in my life that I saw every day. Because everybody's under quarantine. I haven't seen them for months. And they were, like, my safe people. It was, like, my safe environment. It was my safe place if you're into trauma therapy. So you remove the safe people. You remove the safe place. Where are you? You're by your fucking self. And that's when you fucking start snapping. That's when you start going into, like, hypervigilance mode. Shit is fucking dangerous, man. Like, I don't even want to know the suicide rate right now. They're not fucking telling us on the news. They're not telling us, like, how much domestic violence is going down. They're not telling us how much child abuse is going down. They're not telling us, like, rape statistics. They're not telling us anything about, like, fucking suicide statistics, because they're trying to hide everything from people. Because we're trying to live in this cute world right now, where, like, oh, just, like, let's just stay inside and wear our mask. You know what happens when people stay inside? That have, like, our condition, like borderline, bipolar, clinical depression, that kind of shit, they start fucking killing themselves. Because of the ruminating thoughts. Like, we just start to go. And then we start to fucking lose it and we start snapping. So right now, like, I'm staying away from my family. Not because they're hurting me, because I cannot trust myself. At all. I have lost all trust in my abilities to be sane enough to be around anyone. Except my borderline personality disorder friends. I have this person, they're coming in a couple of days to visit. And, that person has, like, borderline. And, like, I can't wait until that person gets here. Because, like, they're definitely a safe person for me. And, like, I know that I will never hurt that person. Because, like, we're, like, the same person. And, but, like, for average people, it's getting harder and harder not to fucking snap and tear their goddamn face off. And the sleep depression, the sleep deprivation's getting worse. The depression's getting worse. The roller coaster of emotions from up and down, up and down, up and down, every week is getting worse. And every time I snap on somebody, I fucking, like, have one of those goddamn, like, fucking Jungian fucking, like, subconscious, like, dreams that wakes me up. And I can't get back to bed because I'm, like, fucking all fucked up. Because I'm just, like, ripping people apart in my life. Like, so many of the relationships in my life in the last 3 weeks have been completely destroyed. Because I can't keep my shit together and I can't trust myself. Anyways, guys, I hope you're having a great day. Gotta end the video. Have fun. Enjoy your Saturday. Sorry, that was a little serious, but fuck it. Whatever. Who gives a shit? That's, this is what these channels are for. Real shit, man. True stuff. Alright, guys. Yeah, fuck it, man. Have a good one. Peace. Later.